Hey, what is going on guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion on some of the best underrated champions right now as of patch 5.6. So if you guys want to see one of these type of videos every few patches, then let me know in the comments section below. And basically, I'm just going to go over a few champions that I don't see played very often, but I think they are actually a pretty strong pick. So first up on my list, I have Nautilus, and right now Nautilus is my favorite jungler because of the recent changes he got to his E. It is a very nice buff, and it just allows you to spam out your E so much in teamfights, and it just enables you to peel for your carries. It enables you to get a lot of damage off actually as well, because it's actually got a pretty good base damage on it. So he's got great CC, his Q, his passive, his E, and his ultimate all have some sort of CC in them, which makes him one of the strongest CC tanks in the game. He's also got insane peel with his E, his ultimate, and his passive, and he has fairly solid engage as well with his Q and his ultimate. And like I said, the buffs are really nice because once you get your E maxed out, which I would definitely recommend doing on the new Nautilus, and you get 40% CDR on him, your E is going to be on a 3-second cooldown, so that's just going to allow you to spam that out in teamfights and get a ton of CC and damage off. He also has insane single target lockdown with all of his CC, and he's also great with the new item Cinderhulk. Some cons to Nautilus are he doesn't have any mobility. You can use your Q to walls, but that's not the most reliable way of escaping. And he also does have weaker damage than some of the other junglers in the meta right now. So next up on my list, I have Chogath. And this is for Chogath top and mid lane. And by the way, that was for Nautilus, either support or jungle. I actually think that Nautilus is a pretty solid pick in support as well. So pros to Chogath are he's got very strong CC with his Q and his W. He's got the silence on his W, which is actually really strong. Not a lot of champions in the game have a silence anymore, and the fact that Chogath does have a silence, and it's also very easy to land, and it's also AoE, so if you can get your silence off in a team fight, it's just going to allow you to have a very good chance at winning that fight. He's also got great burst damage. If you can land your Q, your W, and then chomp them with your ultimate, it brings for so much burst, and you can pretty much 100-0 any squishy in the game once you get a little bit of AP and you get that combo off. He's also strong at zoning with his Q, and just being that huge tank that he is, once he gets the stacks on his ultimate, he can just zone really well with his silence and with his Q. He's also got insane sustain in lane because of his passive, which makes him a really good laner and a very strong lane bully as well. Some cons to Chogath are he doesn't have any mobility, and he is also somewhat skill shot reliant with his Q. So next up on my list, I have Heimdinger. Pros to Heimer are he's got crazy AoE damage. If the opponents fight in the radius of your turrets, you're going to be able to get a ton of damage off in team fights. He's also one of the best laners in the game because of his turrets, and he's also got insane burst damage, especially with his ultimate and then with his W. The ultimate version of his W just does an insane amount of burst, and you can pretty much 100-0 anyone with like a stun, and then, or not anyone, you can 100-0 like squishy targets with your stun and then an ulted W come late game. He's also a very strong team fighter because of his turrets, and he's got good pick potential as well with the ultimate version of his E. Some cons to Heimer are his turrets can be avoided. If the enemies are smart and they don't fight around your turrets, then it can be a little bit harder to get the damage off with Heimer. And he also doesn't have any mobility. Next on my list, I have Zack. Pros to Zack are he's got very strong ganks actually because of the CC he's got on his E, his ultimate, and his Q. He's also got pretty good clear speeds, and like I said, he's got really strong CC. Not as strong as someone like Nautilus, but he does have 3 CC abilities, which is pretty good. He's also got great engage with his E and then followed up by his ultimate. And he's also got a very nice passive, which he can use to tower dive in the early game. He can take the aggro, and then if his passive is up, if his passive is up, then he can just take that turret aggro and complete dives, whereas other champions aren't able to do that. He's also he's got pretty solid mobility as well with his E. A con to Zack, or he does have weaker damage than some of the other junglers in the game. So last but not least, on my top 5, I have Anivia. Pros to Anivia are she has very strong wave clear, some of the best in the game honestly because of her ultimate and her Q. She's also got surprising burst damage. Once you get some AP on Anivia, you can 100 to 0 squishy targets if you get your full combo off. She's also got very strong CC with her ultimate and her Q, and she's got really good disengage as well with her W. Her W can be used against you sometimes though, because you can trap your opponent or you can trap your teammates, but using your W to like block off certain locations like the Dragon Pit, the Baron Pit, or just any place that you're looking to escape from is really nice. And her egg is also very strong against assassins, so one champion that I have in mind that she counters pretty hard is Zed, because what Zed likes to do is once he hits level 6, he just goes for an all-in on you, and he doesn't really care if he takes tower damage because he's just gonna flash back to his shadow. But with Anivia, he can't really do that, because if he goes under tower, gets his full combo off, and Anivia has her egg, then he's not going to go back into tower range, or he's not going to stay in tower range and continue auto-attacking the egg, obviously. So Anivia is a very strong pick against assassins because it's a lot harder for them to assassinate you when you do have your egg up. Some cons to Anivia are she does not have any mobility, and in my opinion, she is harder to play than most mid laners. So first up on the honorable mentions, I have Gragas, and this is for Gragas jungle. You've been seeing a lot of him actually in the LCS lately for jungle, and I do think he is a fairly solid pick because he's got great sustain in the jungle because of his passive. He clears the camps pretty well because of his W and because of the AoE damage he's got on his Q and his E. And he's also got fairly strong ganks as well because of all the CC he has, so if you're looking to pick up a new jungler, I would definitely recommend trying out Gragas because I do think he is quite underrated. Next up I have Ergot, and this is mainly Ergot top lane. You saw him in the mid lane, I think Keen picked him up for Gravity in the LCS. I don't think he is the best mid lane pick though because he doesn't have any wave clear. So I recommend picking him up in the top lane if you're looking to play Ergot because he is a very strong laner actually. He's got a load of poke damage and he's actually not a bad pick. So if you guys are looking for a new top laner who's a pretty strong lane bully, then I would recommend trying out Ergot. And last but not least on the honorable mentions, I have Trundle. So Trundle, he's a really good pick against tanky enemy team comps, and lately we're seeing a lot of tank junglers being played, so this is one of the main reasons why I think Trundle is a pretty good pick right now. If the enemy team, say, has a tanky top laner and they're running a tanky jungler as well, then I would definitely recommend trying out Trundle because he can get his ultimate off on one of those two tanks, or if he can just get his ultimate off on a tank during a team fight, he's going to be really hard to kill. And he's also got a pretty good amount of damage with his Q, and so I would definitely recommend picking him up. He's also got some decent buffs this last patch, so he's a fairly strong pick in certain situations, especially when the enemies have a very tanky team. So that is all for the video, guys. If you enjoyed, then be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And also, I'd be curious to know who you guys think are some of the stronger underrated champions in the game, or just champions that you like to pick up but you don't see other people play very often. Let me know in the comment section below because I'd be quite interested in knowing what you guys think on this topic. But that's all for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.